Hey everybody, Ben with Diesel Power Products here, coming at you with another Diesel Talk video. Today we are talking about Carli extended control arms for your Dodge Ram pickups. Now there is a wide range of years that these fit. There's a couple of different part numbers that goes inside there, but we're going to talk about the main features and then what they fit. So let's get started with the construction of these control arms and also why you might need them on your truck. If you have leveled your truck, you may notice that the wheel actually sits further back in the wheel well. No matter how much you adjust your control arms, you always seem to have a little bit of a caster issue, a little bit of a wandering steering wheel. And that is because the control arms, the stock control arms, are just not long enough to accommodate for the axle being pushed down. As you push your axle down, it actually rotates towards the back, towards the cab of the truck, because the radius arms can only go down so far. So what Carli has done to combat that is they have these extended control arms. They fit in the stock location, and they're a ½ inch longer all the way around, which allows that axle to be pushed back forward to where it needs to be, centered in the wheel well, and also allows you to dial in that caster angle to make sure that you're not having that kind of shopping cart wandering feeling effect on the front end of that truck. Very important if you are running larger tires, or if you're like us here in the Pacific Northwest and you have roads that are not that great. Having a truck that handles just right is going to be worth their weight, or worth its weight in gold. All right, that's why you need them. Let's talk about the construction. If you are new to Carli products, first things first, they do not skimp on anything, and everything they make, they go hard in the paint. And I mean that with every bit of seriousness here. So let's talk about the construction of these control arms. These are a 120 wall box tube, which actually helps out a lot. Actually, not helps out. It provides a ton of strength over stock. Your stock ones are just a stamped steel, which bend and flex all over the place. They're not helping you out whatsoever, especially if you're trying to get this truck to perform better than it did before. You may notice when you look at these control arms that the box tube is actually slightly offset when you look at the joint here. And that is to give you a little bit more tire clearance. Now, these are not as high clearance as Carli's high clearance control arms, which actually has a notch machined in there, but these will give you a little bit more clearance than these stock round control arms. All right, let's talk about the ends of these bars here. These parts right here are going to be a 1/4 inch wall chromoly tube, and they've done more than just pop these on there and weld them on to the square tube you see here. They're actually laser cut and machined to be able to pop these joints out. One side is a snap ring, which we'll show you on the B-roll here, and the other side here is machined to hold that joint in there. So these actually, the insides are removable should they fail, which they're not going to, or they need to be cleaned. So let's talk about the joints that are in these control arms. Now, these are a chromoly treated joint inside there with urethane bushings on either side, which means should the urethane bushings wear out, with that snap ring there, you can pull them out and replace them. The reason that Carli goes with these joints is, and not a rubber joint, is as your axle articulates, it's not just a straight up and down process. Your axle goes like this, which means your control arms also go like this. If you just have a rubber joint in there, a rubber bushing, you are kind of fighting that rubber bushing the whole time, which is actually going to limit how much your axle can move and actually lead to probably a not so great ride, especially at high speeds off-road. So by having this joint in there, which allows it to articulate properly, you're going to get a much better ride out of the truck on-road and off-road. Lastly, for serviceability on these control arms, you notice that there is a Zerk fitting on every joint. These do come pre-greased with red line grease in there. So you're good to go and put them on the truck and ready to rock, but anytime you need to lubricate these, they're all very easy to reach. Zerk fittings on every corner. So let's talk about year ranges these control arms cover. So basically any of the control arm front end Dodge Ram pickups, the 25 or 3500s, that's going to be your 1994 to 2012 and some 2013. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. So you've got a separate part number for the 94 to 2002 trucks. That's going to be your second generation Dodge Rams. You've got a separate part number for the 03 to 09 trucks. That's going to be your third generation Dodge Rams. And the 10 to 12 and some 13s. Let's talk about that 12 and 13 split there. If you have a Dodge Ram 2500, these are covered all the way up to 2013. If you have a Dodge Ram 3500, these are only covered up to 2012. If you've got a 2013 Dodge Ram 3500, you actually have a radius arm front end. You do not need these control arms. Don't do it. Do not pass go. Carli makes great radius arms for that truck. So Now let's dive into which application goes in a little bit further. If you have a second generation Dodge Ram, you actually have two part numbers inside that 94 to 02 category. And the best way to tell that is going to be the size of the bolt that goes into the control arm. Let's get into the details here. Okay, so let's talk about the differences as far as the late second generation Dodge Rams. So that's going to be basically from 98 to 2002. There's two different variations. You're going to have a 12 millimeter upper bolt shank or 14 millimeter lower bolt shank. The later versions sometimes have a 14 millimeter upper bolt shank and a 16 millimeter lower bolt shank. Hard way to tell is if you don't have the bolts out, you can't really tell. So if you can, get under there with a dial caliper or something like that and try and figure out the actual diameter size of the bolts on the upper and lower, especially if you've got that, again, that 98 to 2002. Those are going to be your kind of, it varies inside there. Okay, so for you second generation Dodge Ram guys, let's talk about the varying part numbers even again inside this section. And this is for you 94 to 2002 Dodge Ram trucks. 94 to 98, pretty solid. That's going to be the 12 millimeter upper bolt shank and 14 millimeter lower bolt shank. And the 2000 to 2002, pretty solid, going to be the 14 millimeter upper bolt shank and the 16 millimeter lower bolt shank. Where it gets a little hairy in there is the 98.5 to 99 trucks. That small portion in there, it varies. It could have the earlier version, it could have the late version. So you may have a 12 millimeter upper, or you may have a 14 millimeter upper bolt shank. The best way to double check that and find out for sure is to get under there and measure it and make sure that you know what you're getting before you place the order. Because the last thing you want to do is have the wrong control arms in your hands when you have yours torn apart, ready to go on the truck. It's not a good feeling. I've been there. So a little bit of research ahead of time can definitely help you out and save a lot of time in the long run. One of the things that I really like that Carli puts on these, and a lot of times it's the simple things that go a long way. On each of these control arms, they have a sticker on there, and it tells you if it's the driver upper, driver lower, passenger upper, or passenger lower. May not seem like a big deal, but that saves a lot of headache when you're underneath the truck trying to figure out which arm goes where. And if for some reason those stickers are worn off, just remember the upper control arms are always going to be shorter, the lower control arms are always going to be longer, and lastly, look at the logo. Carli wants the logo facing the outside of the truck because they want people to know that you have the best control arms on the market. So if the sticker's pointing the right way and they're the right length, they're in the right spot. If you are in the market for control arms for your Dodge Ram pickup, again that 94 to 2012, possibly 2013 if you have a 2500 Ram, make sure and give us a shout or click online. We have a very nice listing for these on our website, dieselpowerproducts.com. If you want to get in touch with one of us, we have a lot of ways to do that. You can do that on Instagram, Facebook, the chat feature on our website, or old-fashioned, pick up the phone, give us a call. We've got technicians on the phone 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday. That's right, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time. Give us a call and they will answer any question you have. Phone number is 888-993-4373. Thanks for watching.